viewing.
Hello. We'll be taking you through grammar, that is the topic, and we are going to deal on parts of speech, or else you can refer to world classes. Okay, for one to be in a position to understand grammar, you must be equipped with the knowledge of parts of speech. And I'm going to do an introduction. You may ask yourself, what is this that you are referring to as part of speech? Like, okay, part of speech, these are categories of words that indicate how they function grammatically in a sentence. We will be discussing, we have 8 type of part of speech. And in them, we're going to look at each, and we're going to add the 9th one. The main parts of speech we have the noun, we have pronoun, we have adjectives, we have adverbs, we have conjunctions, we have interjections, we also have preposition, and we also have verbs and articles. So we are going to begin with the first part of speech, which is noun. And noun is a word that names a person, a place, a thing, or an idea. In other words, we can say that these are naming words. For instance, we may have a word like John. John, we have John, we have Mombasa, we have a ball. So these are some of the examples of noun. When you look at this, for instance, we have John. John is a name of a person. Mombasa is a name that names a city. And a ball is a name that names a thing. So in other words, what we're trying to say is that you find that when we use noun, these are those words that name a person, a place, or a thing. So for example, when you talk of John, we are being specific that we are talking about John is a name that is given to a person. The same case as when we use our Mombasa is a name that is given to a town. We can have an example in a sentence. For instance, we can say, John kicked the ball. John kicked the ball. Our key interest areas is John and the ball. So John in this case is is a noun, and a ball is a noun, because John is naming a person, and then ball is naming a thing. We can also have another example, like we can say that the dog barked. When you say the dog barked, in this case, our area of interest is on the dog. The dog is the name of a thing. It's an animal, so therefore is a name that is given to that animal. So, in other words, what we can say that nouns are those words that name, they can name a person, they can name a place, they can name a thing, or as well they can name an idea. And then under the noun, we have several types where I'm going to just mention about them briefly. Under nouns, we have under nouns, we have proper noun. We also have common noun. We have concrete. We have abstract. We have compound. We have count, and we have non-count. So these are main types of noun. I'm just going to go through them briefly. Like when we refer to as a proper noun, it refers to a specific person. This can refer to a person. We have place, thing, and so on. So when we want to talk about a specific person, we use proper noun. For example, when you talk of London, London is a name of a place. There is no other place that is referred to as London rather than the state. When you talk of Tom, you find that Tom, as an example of proper noun, there is nobody else can be referred to as using the same name. And then also under the same category, we have common noun. This is a general name that is given to a person, a place, a thing, idea, a book, and so on. So when you talk of common noun, these are common names. For example, like we can have a teacher. A teacher is a common name because we are not being specific. When we talk of a student is also a common name. We must be precise on which student. So therefore, those words, we refer to them as common noun. And then we have concrete noun. Concrete noun, these are nouns that refer to something that can be physically seen and touched. For instance, we can have a table. A table is something that you can touch, something that you can see, and therefore we refer to as noun, as concrete noun. We have a tree, a house, a rock. Those are things that you can physically see, and you can as well touch them. So we classify them under the concrete noun. And then the other type under this, we have abstract noun. And this refers to concepts or ideas that cannot be seen and they cannot be touched. For example, love. We experience love, we feel love, but we cannot touch. We have a word like peace. People claim of having peace of mind. In this case, we cannot touch the peace, we cannot see the peace, and therefore, we classify them under abstract noun. And then we have compound noun. Under compound noun, these are made up of two or more words. for instance, we can have a toothbrush. In this case, when you look at these, we have two in one. We have two, then brush, joined as one. We refer them to as compound noun because they are made up of two or more words. And then the other category, we have the count noun. The count noun, these are those nouns that are that can be counted and as both singular and plural form. What does that mean? It means that they have a number such that we can have the form in singular and the form in plural. For example, we can have a chair, we can have a dog, we can have a tree. Those are some of the things that you can count. You can say, for instance, you have 2 dogs, you have 5 trees, you have 2 chairs, and so on. All those nouns that we can count, we refer to them as count noun. And lastly, in the list, we have non-count. And these non-count nouns are those that we cannot count, and they don't have the plural and the singular forms. And then next, we are going to look at the other category. We are going to look at the pronouns as our part of speech number 2. The pronoun, as the name suggests, you can see we have a noun in it. What does that mean? It insinuates that it has something to do with a noun. So what is this that we are referring to as a pronoun? A pronoun is used in place of a noun or in place of a noun phrase. In most cases, the importance of it is to avoid repetition of words. We can as well define it as words that can stand in place of a noun. What does that mean? In this case, for instance, in a case like, we can use our first example where we were using John kicked the ball. In this case, we can replace John with a pronoun. We can talk of he. He, in this case, is our pronoun, and it is replacing the noun, which is John. So therefore, he is a pronoun. We have examples like he, we can have she, we have it, we have they, we have us, and so on. So for example, we can as well say, John kicked the ball. In this case, the ball, we can replace it with a pronoun. So when we replace the word ball with a pronoun, we are going to have John kicked it. And in this case, it stands for the ball. Therefore, pronouns are those words that we can use to replace a noun. We can use them instead of a noun. Then we also have types of pronouns. We have several types of pronouns. We have several types of pronouns. Under this, we have personal pronouns. We have personal pronouns. We also have possessive. We have reflexive. We have demonstrative. We have demonstrative, and we also have interrogative. We have relative. And finally, we have indefinite. I'm going to go through them briefly. We are talking about personal pronoun, and we say that they refer to specific person, thing, or a thing. What does that mean? When we talk of personal pronoun, this case we are being specific we are being specific. We can talk of he, we have she, we have it, we have they, and so on. So when we are being specific, for example, it to stand for a thing, he standing for a person, in this case, we are being personal. That is where we get the personal pronouns. And then under possessive, they show ownership, possession, ownership in terms of, for example, my pen, my book. So mine, we have yours, we have his, hers, and so on. We also have reflexive. This refers back to the subject of the sentence. For example, when I'm talking about myself, I'm talking about myself, we have yourself, we have himself. Because the subject in this case, for instance, if we are talking about the pronoun, for example, if we are talking about the pronoun him, we are talking about the pronoun her. So in this case, when we refer back to this, we're going to get himself, we have herself, and so on. And then the other thing is a demonstrative pronoun. And a demonstrative point to specific a person or a thing. For example, this, that, these, and those. Interrogative, these ones are used to ask a question. For example, who, whose, and what. Then we also have relative pronoun. They also introduce a relative clause with the use of who, whom, and whose. And finally, the indefinite, this refers to non-specific person. For instance, when we say anyone, anything, someone, something, in this case, we are not specific because nobody is called anyone. Nothing that we, nobody is being referred to as anyone, and we cannot say that something is a thing that we cannot be specific. And then the other category that we are going to look at is the verb. The verb is a doing word. It shows an action or a state of being. For example, walk, talk, think, believe, want. So these are used to show an action. We also have a state of being. For example, we have the be, have, do verb. Be have their forms in the sense like we have is, we have am, we have are, were, been. Have, has, had. We still have do with the does and did. So under this category of parts of speech, what you need to know is that we have two verbs in the sense like we have the action and we have the stative, the state of being. In this case, under action, this is something that you are doing, walk, sing, dance. Stative is a state of mind. I'm sick, I feel tired, and so on. For example, I can say this. In our case here, John kicked the ball. The word here that we are going to concentrate on is the kick. Kick is word that is showing us the action, whatever John did. Then the other thing that we're going to look at is the adjective. Adjective describes, modifies, or gives more information about a noun. Big, green, or we can have important, and all that. For instance, we can say that was an exciting film. That was an exciting film. That was an exciting film. The word exciting is our adjective that shows us about, that tells us more about the film. So therefore, this is an adjective because it describes the film, which is our adjective. The film, which is an adjective, a noun, sorry. And then the other thing that you're going to look at is the adverb. Adverb, as I said, adverb, it has the word verb in it. So a verb, an adverb, it's a word that modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. They give us more information about the verb. For example, we have well, always, to, lively. She walked slowly as our example. The word slowly is an adjective that is modified the action, which is walked. We have the extremely poor. The word extremely is our adverb that is modifying the word poor, which is our adjective. And finally, we can say that the police arrived very quickly. And in this case, very and quickly, you find that we have two adverbs. And these very quickly, you find that it's an adverb modifying another adverb. And then also we have a preposition. Preposition we have a preposition. They shows the relationship of a noun or a pronoun to other words in the sentence. What does that mean? It shows the relationship between one thing and another. For example, here, the relationship between the table and the book is that the book is on the table. So the word on is a preposition that shows us the relationship between the book and the table. We also have like under, over, we have on, we have in, and so forth. We can also have another example like the book is on the table. We have he went into the room. In this case, the word into is our preposition. And then we also have conjunction. Conjunction, as the word states, co means two, working together. So conjunctions, they join two words. They can join ideas, phrases together, and they show how they are connected. In other words, conjunctions are joining words. To remember this, we use fanboys. This is for, we have and, we have no, we have but, we have or, and we have yet, and we have so. So we think of fanboys, it reminds us about the conjunctions. An example in a sentence, we can say, John is tall and slim. In this case, the word and is joining tall and slim in a sentence. It's joining two words to form a sentence. Tom is sick, so he's not here. You find that so is our conjunction in that case, and it is trying to show us to join the two. Tom is sick, and the other part is not here. So the word so is joining the two clauses. And then the other thing that we have is interjections. This sounds so interesting in the sense like they are words or phrases that express strong emotions or feelings. For example, you can talk of ouch, wow, congratulations, oh my God, bravo. And in this case, you find that they are expressing our deeper feelings. We can say like, hey, how are you doing? Ouch, it hurts. So it's something that has connection with our feelings, on the way on how we feel. We can as well say, oh, wow, I have figured out. In this case, the word oh is a kind of to show a realization of something that you didn't know. And therefore, interjections are those words that express strong emotions or feelings. And then finally, we have articles. Articles is another group in parts of speech, and in them they are used to introduce a noun or a noun phrase. There are two types of articles. We have a and we have the. Under a, it has a form of an. That is where an comes in. So the question that we ask ourselves is, where do we use a, an, and the? So a is used when a noun begins with a consonant sound. So for example, pen. This is a consonant. So therefore we use a. We talk of a pen, a book, a chair, and so on. And then we've said that article a has a form of an. The form of an is used where you find that the word, the noun, begins with a vowel sound. For instance, we can have egg, elephant. So in this case, when you look at these, the sounds that begin the nouns are starting with S, so we have to introduce an. So we can talk of an egg, an elephant, and so on. And finally, we have the definite article there. Definite article there is used with the count noun. We use a noun when we use a noun the second time, or when the listener knows what we are referring to. What does that mean? For example, I may say, I love students who are determined. I love a student who is determined. And we can proceed and say this. the student wishes to perform. A student who does effort in the studies. So in this case, when we talk about a student, and then thereafter I refer to as the student, I'm referring back to the student because I've already mentioned about the student. So those are the 9 parts of speech that enables us to understand grammar, and you have to figure them out and understand them in the basics. That's where we mentioned about the noun, the pronoun, the adjectives, adverbs, conjunctions, interjections, prepositions, verbs, and articles. In conclusion, when we learn the parts of speech, they enable our students to understand how we use words together to form sentences. And through this, we get better understanding of grammar. So these are the basics, and these are the key parts of the speech that we are supposed to dwell on for better understanding of grammar. As I said when I started, we were dealing with the parts of speech. I was your tutor. My name is Dorcas, and see you next. Thank you.